Okay, Michael, we are up and running on YouTube. You can begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the pre-bid conference for the request for proposals issued for 8840 to 8854 South Chicago Avenue or South Commercial Avenue. This is part of the Invest Southwest initiative championed by Mayor Lightfoot, which we will discuss today in addition to the request for proposals. So I'm going to spend about 10 minutes presenting the RFPs, and then we will open it up for a question and answer session with some of our city staff. So the Invest Southwest RFPs are a document released by the City of Chicago to solicit development proposals for projects generally involving city-owned land or buildings. In the past, these have been very minimal documents with, just the size of the land and the zoning and a minimum price. Under the leadership of Mayor Lightfoot and Commissioner Cox, the Invest Southwest RFPs are a different kind of document. They talk about desired community use, desired density, community preferences, financial incentives, market conditions, in the hopes of providing developers the ability to give us the best possible proposals. So DPD began this process in August 2020 with 3 RFPs. The goal is to establish a regular quarterly release of RFP opportunities. The 4 RFPs for which the city is currently seeking proposals are in South Chicago, New City, Bronzeville, and North Lawndale. So the priority corridor for Invest Southwest within South Chicago is along Commercial Avenue from approximately 84th to 93rd Street. This specific RFP site is at 89th and Commercial. The site is surrounded by a number of successful businesses and public investment. Directly to the west, the Pilsen Health Center is rehabilitating a former police station building. So the public investments are covered in the RFP itself, but I would like to point out that since the publication of the RFP, Fair Transit Cook County, a pilot program, has reduced fares on the Metro Electric, and which has nearby stations on 93rd and 87th Street, respectively. So the development site for this RFP is 25,020 square feet and includes a 3-story building, a 2-story building, mid-block vacant land, and a corner building. Based on the community's preferred concept, the city has modeled a high-quality mixed-use development that includes multiple retail and/or commercial units on the ground floor. This will include the adaptive reuse of the buildings at 8840 and 8844 South Commercial. The community's preferred use also includes walkability. In addition to community preference, this is also along a pedestrian street under our zoning ordinance. The city is prepared to offer financial incentives, including but not limited to tax increment financing, our neighborhood opportunity fund, and property tax incentive classifications. A full list of incentives is in the RFP document. So once we receive proposals, we do have an evaluation criteria. We have outlined an overview of what the criteria will be, including the promotion of short and long-term wealth building, professional and technical competence, and economic feasibility. The criteria goals are based on our partnership model. This inclusive economic development and includes participation from racial and ethnic minorities. This can be accomplished in several ways, including developer teams and design teams. One of the main tenets of our Invest Southwest program is design excellence. A successful respondent will have prioritized inclusive design processes that foster equitable development. As part of this, the city has released a list of pre-qualified design firms that development teams can tap into. It was determined that these firms are uniquely positioned to play an important role in the work of Invest Southwest. Just to preempt a previous question, this is meant as a helpful resource. It is not a mandate. Design excellence is the mandate. The firms are the resource. So the RFP began in October 2020 with a community visioning process that was followed by the release of the RFP at the end of November. We are currently in step 2, in which responses are being developed. Those responses are due March 30th, 2021. After proposals are submitted, we will begin our evaluation process. And final developer selection is expected at the end of the second quarter in 2021. Proposals are expected again to be reviewed by the community. The RFP releases again are planned on a quarterly basis, and the next round of RFPs is anticipated for March 2021. These opportunities will be in Humboldt Park, Roseland, and South Shore. We will now be moving forward to the Q&A portion of the pre-bid conference. So I look forward to fielding your questions and want to thank you for coming today. So Bill Eager has asked if one gets points for using a pre-qualified architect.
I can take that one, Michael.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Erica Selke. I'm the lead planner for the Far South region with the Department of Planning and Development. One does not get points for using a pre-qualified architect. As Michael said, it's just a resource. What we're looking though for in the responses is design excellence. Have you looked at the neighborhood design guidelines and followed them? Have you looked at the community input that we collected later last year? So those are the things we're looking for. We just put together this list of architects to help people if they feel like they don't know which architect to go to who understands these sorts of values. Again, it's just a resource. So we're looking for design excellence. We're not necessarily looking for a particular architect. And please feel free to type into the Q&A if you have a question.
I have another question. In terms of secondary financing support, are the city's TIF reports on its website up to date? Terrence, would you be able to answer that?
Can you repeat that question, Mike?
Of course. In terms of secondary financing support, are the city's TIF reports on its website up to date?
Yes, yes, they are. I mean, there's a little bit of lag, but I think as it relates to the RFPs, what we prefer is just the responses just indicate to us what the gap is, and then the city will try to figure out what the best source is to fill that gap. As Mike mentioned, there's a number of different financing opportunities or tools that the city has. So don't be overly worried about trying to pick what one fits best. Just indicate what the gap is, and we'll take a look at the application at that point.
Thank you, Terrence.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so another question has come in. Is there a scoring rubric or any similar guidance? And I'm interpreting that to mean, is there a scoring rubric available to potential respondents to review?
I can take that, Mike. This is Chris Chang. So as far as the evaluation criteria is concerned, it is listed in the RFP document, and those are the only things that we would basically base our reviews on. So if you can.
Okay, my next question in the question box, are there points for exceeding MBE, WBE, and neighborhood participation? Chris, would you mind taking that one as well?
Hi, it's Arthur. I guess Chris can't respond at the moment, possibly. We're just going to be following the criteria that are set forth in the RFP, and those address MB, WB requirements and neighborhood participation.
Okay, and the next question, understanding the privately owned parcels, what role does the city have in negotiation of the sale of parcel? So I'm going to start by mentioning one of the parcels, the corner building, is owned by the Cook County Land Bank, who is a willing seller. All of the sellers are willing sellers, but in that particular case, the respondent would deal directly with the land bank. Erica, are you able to elaborate on the other?
Sure. We've been in contact with the other owners. We expect the sales to be from private owner to private owner. The city does not anticipate participating in any part of the sales process, just for everyone's ease. So we would put you in touch with the property owners and understand, their asking price. We see this as going as current market rate, and you would negotiate directly with the property owner. Yes, the city we would help facilitate, but we would not be part of the sales process.
And this is Arthur Dolinsky again, just expanding on what Erica just mentioned. When it comes to negotiating with the private owners, you're not doing that now. Proposers should not be contacting the property owners at this point in the process. Once we get to a selection, that's when the selected entity is going to be working with the private property owners. Isn't that correct, Erica?
Yes.
Okay. The next question. I see that the selection process section has a number of things that are going to be looked at, including MBEs, WBEs plan to, quote, utilize meaningful percentages of minority, female, and Chicago resident labor, end quote. But I don't see these things in the submission requirements section. Could you please clarify what the commitments requirements are? Arthur, would you be able to do that for us?
Unfortunately, I can't pull up the RFP at the same time that I'm doing the Zoom, otherwise I'll lose my mic. But I believe that they're in there, and we have, I'll see if I can find it before we get off. Okay.
Okay. I have another question. Is the redevelopment and reuse of both existing buildings a requirement, or is it optional? I will say it is preferred, the adaptive reuse. And I will also say that the amount of available financial incentives from the city is much greater from a rehab than it is from a demolition, new construction situation. So I hope that answers your question. I have another question here. Can you share any insight or thoughts on the proposals received on the first grouping of RFPs? Have they generally been meeting your expectations? My understanding is that respondents have been good about following them, the guidelines pretty well. I would like to see if anyone who's a little more involved in the first three would like to potentially elaborate on that.
Sure. This is Chris Jang. We have received a total of 12 responses for the initial 3 RFPs that we issued back in August. And I can say that, except for maybe 1 or 2, all of the other submissions sort of follow the exact guidelines of what the RFP required. So the short answer is yes. Yes, it's very much what we expected and what we requested.
Mike, this is Arthur Delinsky. I was able to move my screens around. The RFP does require, at least on the version that I have, it appears on page 49, but it's in section 8A, a statement committing to 26% MB and 6% WB.
Thank you, Arthur. So our next question, is there a way for developers to also address shortage of parking in their proposal? So Erica, would you?
Sure. So the proposal would have to meet zoning, and we've heard from the community that parking is an issue in the area. So one of the things that we'll look at when we receive the responses is if they're what their parking looks like. And again, these proposals will also go to the community to look at as well, so that we can have a more robust discussion about that when those responses come in. But yes, that's certainly a component of the response that we'll be reviewing.
Okay, so right now I have no open questions. Oh, wait, I lied. 2 have just popped up. So the first of the 2, when do you anticipate the attendee list being available? Chris, how long is the lag time? Well, I don't want to say lag time, but I would assume fairly soon.
Yeah, so the list of attendees will be available for distribution, and we would like to do that along with the updated questions and answer document. So both the list of attendees as well as the updated question and answer document will be posted on our Invest Southwest website. And we would also send you an email with the list as well. And we hope to send that out within a week of, so by next Friday, those things will be either posted and sent out via email to each of the attendants or registrants to this pre-bid conference.
All right, our next question. Is there any preference weight given to development proposals with green infrastructure, open parentheses, an example, lead, enterprise green checklist, etc., close parentheses? Erica?
Sure. So we do not specify that, but again, that's something that the city and then also the community can review when going through the responses. The other thing I will mention that any new development and any rehab will have to meet the city's sustainable development policy. And in that, for new construction and major rehabs, you need to reach 100 points. A minor rehab is 50 points. And within that list of sustainable elements, there are, it is achieving LEED and doing things like that. So there are options as to how you can meet sustainability. And we encourage people to discuss that in the RFP response as well.
And this is Arthur again, just building upon what in there when it's talking about massing, it references green roofs and also terraces are part of those design guidelines. So respondents should become familiar not just with the guidelines, but as Erica says, the city's ordinance requirements that apply to certain types of developments.
All right. The next question, do you anticipate needing help doing community outreach beyond what has been done already? I believe we have a pretty robust community outreach program, but Erica, if you want to.
Sure. So we did have a couple community meetings on this with pretty good turnout. And we have a group of people that meet with the Invest Southwest roundtables. So if you'd like to participate in some of these community outreach exercises, please feel free to reach out to me. I will put my email address in the chat box, which I think everyone can see.
This is Arthur again. I think, sorry to interrupt, Erica, but I think Mike is the point of contact.
Okay, I'm sorry.
For this RFP, and we should just keep it at him, okay, if you don't mind.
Yes, thank you.
And there will be, when it comes to community outreach, there will be outreach after the proposals are submitted. And the city, I believe, is going to give the community an opportunity to comment and give some input on some of those proposals.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. All right, so the next question, how many responses do you anticipate for the RFPs? The first round of 3 got a few responses. I'm anticipating a similar number for this RFP and the other Invest Southwest RFPs as well. The next question, is the 50 residential units fixed or approximate? I will say that there are certain unit number requirements to qualify for certain investments, and our financial modeling is done on the 50 residential units. Okay, and then what preference, if any, is there for development teams that include community-based partners? We very much want to see people include, I mean, it is community wealth building. In terms of an actual point system, we do have city residency requirements for certain kinds of projects that receive certain city assistance. And Arthur, could you elaborate on those requirements?
So I think there's two separate issues here. When it comes to MBWB, that's not applicable to ownership. That's talking about the work that is being done and the services that are being used in furtherance of finishing this project. But the RFP does go on to say that as part of the evaluation criteria, the city is expecting that the proposal reflect the demographics of the South Chicago area, and is also wanting proposers to have innovative partnerships. So that will be considered. Is there a preference for development teams that include community-based partners? I would direct you to that language in the RFP. It's very specific as to what we're looking for.
Thank you, Arthur. Okay, at the moment, I have no open questions. I will also say I'm the point of contact for the RFP. Any question that you submit to me in writing between now and then, and I will take the question that just popped up on my screen. But in terms of any of that, if you send me a question in writing, I will get an answer and I will distribute it to everyone who has signed up to have such questions answered for them. So the first question, in terms of community priorities and aspirations, what would you say are top of list?
You could just refer them to the evaluation criteria, and the
That
RFP
will-
as a whole identifies what we're looking for.
And then I just got a question. How do I get a great background like Michael? So the flag behind me, if I'm the Michael you're referring to, is from the Chicago Public Library's website. They have a section on the history of the Chicago flag. You should be able to find it by Googling Chicago Public Library flag of Chicago. Okay, so I received another question. Is there a scoring rubric available, open parentheses, especially for the different evaluation criteria, close parentheses?
As you mentioned earlier, Mike, there isn't. We're going to go off of the evaluation criteria set forth in the RFP.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. You are welcome. I'm glad that this was informative for you. Oh, somebody in the chat box. It wasn't really a question. It was just, I should probably read it since I read all the other ones. Thank you. This was very informative.
And I'm not sure if this qualifies. I got an email from Kevin Barnes, who is our public relations person, and he said that there was a question on YouTube. Are there plans of the existing buildings or an understanding of the current conditions?
So I do not have a set of building plans. I know that the COVID-19 pandemic has made scheduling site visits more difficult. So I can find a way to answer that question and communicate further resources of the building when we send the question answer and the attendee list.
And also say too that the appendix includes photos from inside the 3-story building and the 2-story building.
Well, it seems like this is Chris Chang again. It seems like there's no additional questions. So let me just kind of go over the next steps here a little bit. As I stated, the list of attendees to this private conference will be shared with everybody who registered, and will also be posted on the Invest Southwest website. And that should be done by next Friday. The posting of the updated questions and answers. And then we will continue to update the question and answer documents. If you send a question to Michael, who is the project manager for this RFP, we will continue to update those questions paired with an answer until March 23rd, a week prior to the proposal due date. The proposal due date is, again, March 30th, before 4 p.m. And all submissions should include an original and 5 copies of the proposal and a flash drive containing all digital files. And we would appreciate, since the City Hall is closed, that the submission be delivered to City Hall room 1000 by our courier service. So I just wanted to, unless there's any additional questions, I want to thank everybody for your time to attend this private conference today. And feel free to let us know if you have any additional questions later on. Thank you so much. Michael, do we have a question now?
Yes, we do. I was going to ask if we want me to answer that as part of the email that goes out, or if we want me to handle that now.
No, I think people are still on, so you can answer it now.
Okay, all right. So is it acceptable for an applicant to apply for non-DPD financing before a selection is made?
This is Arthur. The answer is yes. It's a business decision, and Mr. Eager is very familiar with financing for deals such as this, so I'd leave it to his discretion. We're not making any commitments to make an award, though.
All right. Thank you, Arthur.
Chris, are we going to close the meeting or do we stay for the full hour and a half?
I'm sorry, I think we could close since there are no additional questions. And if there are additional questions that come up later on, they can always email it to Michael, and then we will update the question and answer document and post it on the web. So I think we're good to, there's one more question that just came in, or oops.
That was just a thank you from
okay.
someone.
Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good to kind of complete this and finish this pre-bid conference. Thank you everybody for joining, and have a great day and a weekend.
Take care.